Maybe Bob had a reaction about the
that wasn't
how
his point.
the
That was not his point. His point was spend a week looking at porn, spend a week looking at reading good literature. See, you will be a different person.
Yeah, and one of them on a box of empty Kleenexes and be exhausted.
No. He's giving you an example of one thing that is obviously harmful to the internal person.
That's not how
Who's judging the literature?
Depending on the literature.
What if you read Mein Kampf?
Do it now.
Okay, hang on.
Who thinks that people don't become addicted by dwelling on things? Who thinks that? Are we not habitual beings? Who thinks that people don't become addicted to porn, to lust, by dwelling on them, by spending too much time with them? But is there an addiction that hurts like a saint, like Mother Teresa? Does that cause ill in the world?
Mother Teresa admitted she didn't believe in God for most of her life.
You want to pick a particular person and attack the
brought it
person.
up.
I'm asking you a question.
You brought it up.
Asking a
Most
question.
Christians are reading the
Matt?
fictional Bible, and we see the religious wars that's got us over the
No, I
last
got a question
4,000
for
What's in
years.
the Bible?
I got a question for
Is it
you.
about fighting wars? No.
There is porn in the Bible. The Old Testament has some pretty disgusting things in it.
Hang on. Did you have a question with regard to this?
I mean, are we arguing about if porn's good or bad now?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Hang on.
Who put him in charge?
Hang on. If we want to have a discussion about whether or not porn's bad, that's fine. But I don't know that that is a productive discussion for here. Because
But
I would be...
it has to do with, do you have something internally that can burn and be destructive, or something internally that can be life-giving? Something like hate that can cause you to just become destroyed internally without you...
Prove that exists first before positing your argument.
I don't understand what you mean by destroyed internally.
I mean that people will become sick because of their own internal passions without even going out and touching or interacting with
Sick?
anyone
What do you
else.
mean sick?
Do you have any evidence for this?
Can I ask you a question about what you saw reasonable or...
I tell you what, you can ask me one question and then leave.
Oh, because you're the authority?
In this room, you bet your ass.
I believe because you have enough evidence to realize there's more than just the material, that there is something that spiritually works or doesn't work inside of you. You will see evidence. You will see it years from now if you spend your life looking at porn repeatedly.
And I want to, hang on, I want to be clear. I want to be clear. I'm only asking you to leave.
You asked me to go, so I'm going to go.
I want to be clear. I'm only asking you to go. Because it's clear that you came in with an agenda and wanted to prompt a discussion that this wasn't necessarily about. And you have nothing more than an assertion that people in the room don't agree with. And rather than discussing, rather than making the case,
The assertion.
bye.
Should have hung up.
Back to you.
That was porn good?
Let's all go research it for a week. I don't believe that.
Where do I find it?
In my religion, you guys can't tell I'm Muslim, we believe that, everything is inner beauty, and like looking at porn, there actually is a study, like I actually heard this on like Hot 995, that people that look at porn, their sense of reality is altered, and they believe that this is what beauty is. This is what the way girls should look. So then they look exterior on what a girl should look like, and that makes the relationship falls, and that all this stuff happens. So I do believe that porn does change what actual beauty is, which is why my religion, the girls have to cover up, because you have to show that beauty comes from within and not from outside. But I'm not saying, it's my opinion, it's my religion opinion. I'm not, I don't care if anyone looks at porn as long as you're not showing me. But I do believe that, I don't think it makes you burn inside where you're like, oh, I'm gonna die, like, one week of porn. I do believe that it does have negative effects. I don't believe there are positive effects. But my question was, they're good. This whole topic was, source of human morality. And my question was, for human morality, it differs between societies and different societies. And I believe we're all humans on this planet. And there has to be a way that is for all humans to agree on what is morally correct. Because in order to coexist with everyone, then we all have to agree on a set of morals that exist. Now, from society to society, everyone's going to say, this is my view, this is my view, this is my view. How do we know, as humans on the planet Earth, all being the same race and everything, how do we know what the correct moral code is? And also, my question to him, but I didn't want to ask it, is his viewpoint was that God was the source of human morality. I didn't know if he meant his God or just believing in a God was the source of human morality. So that's what I'm going to ask him tomorrow when I go. But, you know, that's...
I don't know, I don't necessarily want to do all the talking.
I have an answer to this. Be good for goodness sake. That's why people should be good.
Yes,
Do not be good for God, because God doesn't need the help. God doesn't exist in the first place. It's like, you know, people say, well, I'm going to go to Africa to save the children for Jesus. No, you don't go to Africa to save the children for Jesus. You go to Africa to save the children for the children.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And
So what's the point of all this nonsense about there being a God that we have to keep
well,
doing?
I've talked to many atheists before, and I'm not claiming all atheists like this because I know a lot of atheists who don't. You know, people are different. But from what I've observed, most people that I've talked to that say this, where they're like, well, it's their problem, you know, I'm this way, they're that way, they have to suffer, you know.
You didn't categorize who you talked about. I have no idea what kind of person you're talking about right now.
I've talked to atheists who, I believe that people can be good when people can be good. Except my question is, you know, here growing up, being good, for example, is looking like beautiful, being outspoken, being this, being that, and having a good house. That's a definition of like success in America. You know, having the American dream, having a nice car, having a stable family, having a nice financial, you know, stability and everything. And they don't really think about everyone. They don't think globally.
That's true.
And
This is a Christian nation, a highly Christian nation, and most of the people are Christian.
yeah, but what I'm asking is, from an atheist point of view, I have lots of atheist friends, they're like, well, you know, those kids in Africa, that's their problem. Like, why am I supposed to help them? And
What kind of, where do you find these people?
but I'm not categorizing for like all atheists, but I did observe that because they're like, you know, we're gonna die and we're just not from existence. What's the point of doing good deeds? But I've also realized that lots of Christians say that also because they believe that salvation is just believing in Jesus. Whereas in my religion, you have to do good deeds and bad deeds. And when you do a bad deed, it's recorded. When you do a good deed, it's recorded. So you're not doing the good or bad deeds because for God's sake. You're doing the good or bad deeds for your own sake.
That's a self-aggrandizement.
So that's from within.
This is a problem with any religion that gives you a reward. You're not doing it for the people you're doing it for. You're not doing it even for God. You're doing it for yourself to save yourself. That's a very base reason to do things. So that's a basic fundamental flaw of religions that say God's going to reward you for doing good deeds. The only reason to do good deeds altruistically is just to do them. For example, let's say that you have a kid in the middle of a stream about to drown. And one side's an atheist and one side's a Christian or a Muslim or whatever. They're both at high risk of drowning if they get into this running water. If the Christian jumps in, that's a good thing to try to save that kid, but they're kind of hoping for a reward. The atheist is the only one who potentially can be totally altruistic. It's like, oh, I could risk dying, that'll be the end of my existence. So morally, atheism in that sense is superior.
There's an example that I've used over and over again. Imagine that you have two children and they misbehave in public.
Yeah.
And you talk to them, and you try to explain to them the consequences of their actions and how they affect other people. And for whatever reason, one of them continues to misbehave. After a year's time, you go out in public again, and neither child is misbehaving. One of them is doing it because you promised a reward or promised to beat them if they don't behave. And the other one is doing it because he actually grasps the consequences of his actions with regard to the people around him and what sort of society he wants to live in. Which of those kids is better?
Well, I agree with that actually. I do believe
That
that
answers that will answer your other question, which is how do we get to a point where we all agree on this stuff? And as offensive as this may be to people, we have to eliminate the religious mindset not religions, I'm not talking grabbing
No,
people
I
away.
understand.
We have to change people's minds so that they eliminate the presuppositions that a God is required, that there is something grander or reward-inducing, the carrot and stick thing. And we need people to understand goodness for goodness sake. We need to understand that the proof is in the pudding. The results of our actions are what we use to measure our lives by.
I'll tag on to that a little bit. What's your name?
Yeah.
Deanna. I have two sort of points of view, places to come from to answer these kind of questions. One is as a fellow human being, struggling, trying to be good, trying to live life while we can. The other is as a scientist, professor, thinker, and so forth. And I have some students in the room here who will recognize my point of view here. Life is hard. Life is complex. And the older I get, the more complex it seems. And the more educated I get, the more I realize how little I know. And there is an incredible amount of uncertainty in the world. And I can no longer pretend that I don't have that. So whatever the answers are, I think we all have to find them on our own. And one of the things that will help, I don't know what the answer is, but one of the things that will help is to avoid subscription to institutions that tell you to stop thinking.
I agree. I actually completely agree that when, you know, like, I have a very creative mind, and I believe we live in such a world of statistics and facts and everything, and I don't like when, you know, when my creativity is viewed as very, like, ADD, for example. Because I don't have ADD, but I'm just very creative. I like to think outside the box. But
Good for you.
But whereas, like, a lot of my friends or something are very, like, book smart, and they go by the books and stuff, and I don't really do that, I'm viewed as different. Whereas I'm like, you're not smarter than me in any aspect. Like, who are you to define what smart is? And I do believe that lots of institutions do define what smart is, and I do think that's a problem because people are thinking very restricted. I do believe that we need to take a grasp on what creativity is and, like, value that more often. But okay, I'm really sorry. This is like me and you guys. Like, go ahead,
It's
please.
a good discussion. Go ahead.
Well,
Sorry.
I actually mine was related to yours, because no offense to you guys, but I think you kind of didn't catch what she was trying to say, really. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, so correct me if I'm wrong. But I think you're trying to say is that when we're trying to figure out what is moral, like what is this universal moral code, culturally, that can be different, regardless of religion. We're, like, for instance, we're a very individualistic society, and by the way, I'm an atheist, just put me out there now. We're an individualistic society, and what we do that we perceive as moral may not be moral to someone who's non-religious in Japan in a community-based society. So the question was, I think she was trying to ask you, was that, like, how do we derive, like, the ultimate, like, what is good for goodness sake, and
Yeah.
does that vary?
I'm
How
not
do
sure
we
we
figure that
totally
out?
do